The following segments are pre-recorded and sponsored by Longworth Productions.
Major funding for Triad Today comes from Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, making healthcare better for all. Understanding colorectal cancer on Triad Today. Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you again from the Kernersville Auto Museum. We'll tell you more about that later on, and later on is when the roundtable shows up, so stay tuned for a lot of fun. And we have this very special guest with us, first-time visitor to the show, Dr. Daniel Mistro. He's a surgeon with Novant Health Colon and Rectal Clinic in Clemens. Welcome, Doc. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me.
Let me just start out with, and I know you get these questions all the time, but how common is colorectal cancer? Is it just a disease that affects older people or certain races or genders? What about it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So colon cancer is, believe it or not, one of the most common cancers that we see in America. And in fact, especially in people under the age of 50, it's now the leading cause of cancer death. So the rates have been slowly rising over the last couple of decades.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
What are some of the symptoms of somebody that has or presents with colorectal cancer?
Absolutely. So things that we look for primarily is if you have any blood in your bowel movements, any changes in how you go to the bathroom, belly pain, bloating, abdominal discomfort, or weight loss that you're not trying to achieve.
Now, we didn't rehearse this or anything, but I'm just curious, since you mentioned that, what if somebody, occasionally has hemorrhoids or whatever, and they see blood in the stool? Do they panic, or how would you help them, bring them in and actually detect what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So blood in your stool is never normal, and you should go in and see your doctor and talk about that. And so someone like myself, they would come see, we can examine them, talk to them, figure out, is it from the hemorrhoids or is it from something else? Do they need a colonoscopy or some other method to help make sure we know where that's coming from?
And is colonoscopy still like the gold standard?
Absolutely. Colonoscopy is the single best way to detect colon cancer and even prevent colon cancer.
A lot of people don't, and this applies to people I've spoken with in the past over the last 30, 40 years doing this kind of thing, whether it's breast cancer, colon cancer, whatever. They'll say, well, I don't want to get screened.
Yeah.
I don't want to do colorectal. I don't want to do What do you say to those folks about how important early detection is?
Sure. I mean, early detection is everything. And the thing with a colonoscopy is it allows you to find the polyps that turn into cancer. And so you can actually prevent cancer before it ever starts. But even for people that don't want to do a colonoscopy, there are other options for screening. There's Cologuard, where you obtain a stool sample and send it off.
Right.
There's CT colonography, which is a special type of a CT scan to look for colon cancer. So there are other non-colonoscopy ways to be screened and make sure you're staying healthy and safe.
What about treatments? Have treatments evolved or changed over the years?
Oh, definitely.
And how they might affect outcomes? And
for sure. I think we've made some big strides in our surgical approach. A lot of surgeons nowadays, we do laparoscopic or robotic surgery. It's, it's a little bit of an easier approach for people. The small cuts mean the healing is better. People tend to have fewer complications afterwards. And from an oncology point of view, there's been breakthroughs in chemotherapy and immunotherapy that have allowed us to attack a lot more aggressive cancers successfully.
Again, we didn't rehearse this, but I'm just curious since I've got you here. Are there certain lifestyle things that people do that maybe they shouldn't do that would contribute to colorectal cancer, or is there never any connection?
Well, I think as best we can say, in general, trying to be healthy. Don't drink too much, try not to smoke, eat a balanced diet, plenty of fruits and vegetables rich in fiber, and get a good amount of exercise.
Okay. Before we lose time, I want to ask you a personal question.
Sure.
Who or what led you to a career in medicine?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my father's a retired heart surgeon, and so growing up as a little boy, I was exposed to medicine pretty much every single day. That really piqued my interest for much of my life. I was able to go on a mission trip with him to Guatemala and help him in the operating room when I was in high school, and that really kind of sealed the deal for me. And then as I went through my training, my uncle was suffering from ulcerative colitis, and so that sort of drew me into colorectal surgery as a specialty, and so here I am today.
And how long ago was that with your uncle? I mean, did they have the same treatments that we have now? How long ago was that?
That was about 15 years ago.
Okay.
So yeah, right when I was in the midst of my medical training.
You had a great background, great role models.
Absolutely.
I just think that's something. Up on screen, you can go to, of course, it's a general website, novonhealth.org, but if you want to get in touch with the clinic itself, you can go to Novant Health Colon and Rectal Clinic by calling the 277-4075, 277-4075, and you can make an appointment, Dr. Mistro, and learn more about this. Thanks for all you're doing.
Absolutely.
For folks.
Thank you for having me.
All right, come back sometime, will you?
Yes, sir.
Be right back after this.
I am so
Why
frustrated.
can no one help me?
Waiting
This is
is
a nightmare.
worse. I think it's healthcare is broken.
At Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina, we get it.
Really?
Really. That's why we're making healthcare better for all. Starting with you. Yes, you, Daryl. We're making plans easier to navigate by putting your benefits, prescriptions, and details all in one place. Convinced?
No. But it's a start.
We'll take it. Blue Cross North Carolina. Making healthcare better for all. Starting with you.
The world's brightest are Fulbrights, Goldwaters, McNairs, and Spartans. Prestigious doesn't have to be expensive. UNCG.
Back now on Try Today, and we're going to spend a few minutes with this very special guest from Shift Ed. Lena Troxell is Director of Academic Initiatives from Shift Ed and a former teacher, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I read that about you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Let's remind folks very briefly what the mission of Shift Ed is and who you serve.
Our mission is to boldly accelerate student potential, and so we serve students from entering kindergarten through their post-secondary options and career readiness.
Yeah, and a lot of folks in the beginning used to hear about Shift Ed and they thought, well, it's just helping high school kids get into college, but it wasn't. As you mentioned kindergarten. So let's hone in on that. Why is it important to help rising kindergarten students and their families? Why is that so important these days?
It's so important because we want those students to be excited and ready to come into the classroom when they start in August. And we also want to help prepare the parents and give them information so that they feel confident and excited for their students also.
Yeah, are there any resources or any help or anything that you share with these families and the little kids starting to come into kindergarten? What do you do to help them?
So we have some really great initiatives that we work with. One is our kindergarten readiness fair, so Discover Kindergarten. And then we also do, we partner with GCS to do kindergarten readiness bags. So every kindergartner who comes in and registers gets a backpack full of great materials that can help them get ready for August and ready for that first day of school.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Discover Kindergarten events. You just had one, and I want to mention that in just a second. But parents, you try to get the parents excited and let them know what's going on too. Is it a good thing for parents to actually visit the schools where their children are going to attend? Do you recommend that?
Yes, all of the schools offer a kindergarten kickoff fair, so they should reach out to their public schools and see what date that is. It should be in March and April, and that's a great way to learn about the school, for them and the kids to go see it before open house and to get information so that they are ready to start in August.
Now help me on this. It's been 400 years since I was in school, so you'll have to forgive me, but and it's going to sound like a stupid question, but if the parents get all revved up in the kids and they go into kindergarten, is it always true, or mostly always true, that that's the same school they're going to go through for first, second, third grade, that type of thing? Or
I mean, that would definitely be the hope. It just would depend on where the families end up. But Guilford County does a great job, even if students have to switch schools due to one thing or another.
Ready. You got to get them ready for that. Okay. Now, you mentioned Discover Kindergarten events. You had one recently, February 28th. Mm-hmm. How did that go? Oh,
it was fantastic. There was over 800 people that came that day.
Wow. And then I think I saw from an email you sent me that you have, and that was at Brenner, right? At Brenner Children's Museum. But you have one coming up on March 22nd at the Cubain Children's Museum in High Point. Tell me about what we're going to see at that.
So you're going to see all sorts of things for kindergarten readiness, just providing information to parents and the students. They are also setting up a mock classroom so kids can come in and kind of experience what a day in the life of a kindergartner will look like. Yeah. They'll get resources from different partners. It should be a really good event.
Now, I want to put this up on screen before I forget. go to shifted.org, shifted.org that's their general website, and there's all sorts of things you can learn from that, including to remind people about Sunday, March 22nd. I don't know if we have this up on screen or not. Sunday, March 22nd, 11 to 3 p.m. at Cubain Children's Museum in High Point. I mentioned, Lena, that you were a teacher. Who or what led you to a career in education? Was it a mom, a dad, a family relative, or what?
It was honestly a high school teacher. I took a class called Teacher Cadet. I absolutely loved it. And it was just something that I felt passionate about, reaching out and being able to help other people.
And what grade was that?
I've taught everything from 1st grade through 5th grade.
How about that? And the teacher that you mentioned, what was his or her name?
Her name was Lina Morris.
Is she still with us?
I'm not sure. I lost contact with her, sadly.
I'm sure she'd be proud of you. Maybe she's watching this. We'll see. All right. Again, up on screen, shifted.org. I hope you will check that out because there's so many great things that the organization does to help kids and parents and to get kids ready to learn. Thanks, Lena.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you that Try It Today also airs on GTN Spectrum Channel 13 and streams on WFMY Plus, free on Roku and Amazon Fire. Back now on Try It Today. Always glad when we can check in with some of the good folks who work behind the scenes to run things in the city of Winston-Salem. And of course, familiar faces here on the far right, our good buddy Pat Pate, city manager of the city of Winston-Salem, and a returning guest. His guest is Jeff Fansler, director of the Transportation Department. Good to see both you guys.
Morning.
Thanks for coming. And appropriate that once again, here we are in the Auto Museum talking about transit. So I know you like that, Jeff.
Amen.
Pat, let me start with you, though. I understand that the city's transit authority recently conducted some pretty important public meetings. What were the purpose of those meetings?
Yeah, so we're looking to see how we can improve services for our transit riders. And so we're looking at processes of allowing people to get from where they're at to where they need to be, whether that's work, shopping, those places on as quick a basis as possible. So that's the main impetus of what we're trying to do right now, improve services.
All right, we'll get to some of the input and everything for some of those meetings in just a second. But Jeff, before we get too far along, just remind people what the Transit Authority does.
Yeah. So the Winston-Salem Transit Authority is a public transportation service for residents in the city of Winston-Salem, supported by the city of Winston-Salem and federal tax dollars. And we provide those public services, both fixed route and paratransit support services for our customers.
Okay. Now, what are some of the proposed changes and ideas that were presented at the meetings that Pat was talking about?
Yeah, so some of the major changes are really regarding service frequency. We want to make the service more attractive, so we're going to send more buses every hour. We're going from a 60-minute headway to a 30-minute headway on almost 70% of our routes.
Wow.
Yeah, and so to do that, we're going to have to be intentional about where we put those buses.
Well, now, how soon let me make sure I understand this, how soon would this happen, or is it happening?
Yeah, so council is considering that right now, and we're moving forward through the public engagement process and council consideration. If approved, we're hopeful to launch this in August.
And obviously that's going to benefit riders because of the frequency, right?
That's right.
All right. Now, would this mean that the routes get expanded, or just mainly that you're going to do more within the same route?
So good question. There are minor geography changes. The intention here is to really increase the frequency, which provides more attractive options for folks because they're not having to wait so much. We want to reduce their time waiting for those buses.
Right. We didn't rehearse this or anything. I'm just curious. Is there, I know, a stupid question, but is there a cost, is there a fee to ride the city buses?
So there is a nominal fee. It is $1 to ride the bus. We have a $1 fare.
Okay. And that's to go anywhere on the routes, right?
That is a $1 fare per our system.
All right. Pat sent me an email knowing that you were coming, and he mentioned something called microtransit. Microtransit. What is that?
Microtransit is basically a government program, a city program like Uber, right? It's a rideshare program where essentially riders could go to an app, book a trip, and our on-demand service will come to their door and take them to their destination anywhere within that geo-fenced area.
Well, now you're talking over my head. The geo-fenced area, that sounds like the dog's running wild in my backyard. I'm not sure what that means. But anyway, seriously, I mean, is it just a certain area you're going to start with, or what?
Yeah, it is, and it's intended to support our fixed route service. So we've got an area in the northwest part of town that we're proposing, which essentially we're mapping an area that would support a fixed route. So if you're in that area and you want that service, you could call the ride. It'll take you from your door to a fixed route or anywhere of your destination that lives within that area that we designate.
Okay, is that already happening?
That's part of the services that will go live in August, if approved.
In August. Man, that's really something. Because then, if the bus routes aren't doing exactly what you need them for your purpose, you make the call, and all right. And all right, let me go back to Pat for just a second. Let me get your final thoughts on the importance of the transit system overall to the community, even the people that don't ride the buses, that don't afford themselves of the transit service. But it's important for the whole community, right?
Absolutely. For every person that we can put on those buses, that's one less car that has to travel somewhere if they had a car. And if it's somebody that needs to get to work and they don't have a car, this is getting that person to that work site. That may be your server, may be helping you at the hospital when you're working there. So we vitally need to get our people to where they need to go.
So it's an economic development engine in a way, and helping to keep people employed because they can get access to the jobs and helps the environment. Up on screen, cityofws.org. You can get lots of information going through various portals on there. And to Pat and Jeff, thanks again. And I've said this to you guys before, working behind the scenes to do all the things you do and make life better for all of us. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll be right back after this.
I got free meals. What do you mean? No, seriously, how much did you pay us? I didn't pay anything. I learned how to cook all of these fresh foods that were delivered to my house. Everything in that grocery bag that's fresh, I had a recipe for it, and I know how to cook. It encouraged us to eat better, to shop better, make better decisions.
Back now on Triad Today. Always glad we can spend a few minutes with the good folks from UNCG, which also happens to be my alma mater, but that was a couple centuries ago. But with us again now is Juliet Bianco. She's Associate Vice Chancellor for Museums and Practices at UNCG. Welcome back, my friend.
I'm glad to be here.
UNCG and Weatherspoon Art Museum are sort of synonymous, I think, and maybe I'm prejudiced because of having been there, but folks who are new to the area maybe don't know about Weatherspoon. Just bring us back up to speed before we go.
Sure, I'm happy to. Thank you. The Weatherspoon Art Museum is the art museum on UNCG campus, but it is free and open to everyone in the community being part of our public service mission. The Weatherspoon Art Museum is the oldest museum or gallery in the entire UNC system. We've been on campus since 1941.
Wow.
And we are a museum of modern and contemporary American art with about 7,000 works of art in our collection.
Right, and in just a second I'm going to ask you about a new exhibit, but before I get to the new part, one thing that Weatherspoon's always been good at is you have sort of a great permanent collection of things. Mm-hmm. So give me an example of a couple of permanent exhibits.
Permanent collection is always on view, but we try to rotate it frequently. As I mentioned, with 7,000 works of art and only so much wall space, we want to give as much visibility to the collection as we can. So visitors can come several times a year and always see something new from our permanent collection on the walls.
You sent me an email, and maybe it came from Brian Clary, but sent me an email knowing that we were going to talk today, and said to ask you about something called Of Salt and Spirit. Mm-hmm. Now I don't understand what that means. What does that mean? Is that a new collection, new exhibit? What is that about?
Of Salt and Spirit, Black Quilters from the American South is an exhibition that we're really proud to be hosting. It's on loan from the Mississippi Museum of Art in Jackson, Mississippi, and it brings together 24 quilts made by artists in the middle of the last century and represent some of the greatest art making of quilt artists going back through histories that go back many generations. We are the only North Carolina venue for this exhibition, and it's an amazing opportunity to see the kind of innovation and improvisation that makes quilt making such an important art form.
Yeah, I have a cousin who lives in Greensboro that's a great quilt maker. Is that the right term? Say quilt, yeah, or quilt mistress, but I don't know what that means. But anyway, my point is there's a lot of interest in this around this area. Yes. That people are doing quilts, so I think this is great. All right, now, before we lose time, I also understand that you have 2 new centers about to open, or tell me about those.
That's right. We're opening 2 new centers this fall, one in the Weatherspoon Art Museum called the Cole Levin Center for Art and Human Understanding, and another separate center right down the road called the Jean Tannenbaum Center for Creative Practice. And when both of these centers come online, they're going to reignite the idea that the art and creativity at UNCG is to be shared as broadly with the community as possible.
That's great. Now, I asked you this same question sometime before when you were here once before, but just for people that just moved into the area, I think it's an important question because you're a fascinating person. Who or what led you to having an interest in arts and museums, to having a career that you have? Tell me again. I like the story.
Oh, thank you. Well, like most stories, it goes back to my mother, right? My mother brought me to museums. I grew up in New York City, and museums were free for people who lived in New York City. And so I grew up with my mom bringing me to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, for example, and helped me imagine what it would feel like to live in a museum and be in a museum that was free and open to everyone. And my entire career, I've only worked at museums that are free and open to everyone, like the Weatherspoon.
Oh, absolutely. I just think that, what a great background, what a great story. That's why I wanted you to retell it anyway. Okay, up on screen. Please check this out, uncg.edu, uncg.edu. Lots of portals to visit to get you to various places, whether it's the Weatherspoon or to business school or wherever you want to go. There's lots of information there, and I hope you will check that out. And I hope you won't be a stranger and that you'll come back soon. Let us know what's going on.
Anytime.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
At Sutton Brothers, we're confident we can help you solve your heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs.
So confident that we'll fix it or it's free. Our highly trained technicians will diagnose your problem and fix it with either a repair or replacement.
And if we can't fix it, you won't pay the trip fee.
So the next time you have a problem, call us.
We'll make sure you're completely satisfied.
Guaranteed.
Call Sutton Brothers today and be confident things will be done right. Schedule online at suttonbros.com.
Major funding for Triad Today comes from Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, making healthcare better for all. The Roundtable is brought to you by Sutton Brothers, locally owned and operated and serving all of your HVAC, plumbing, and electrical needs. Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the Roundtable, but a quick shout out to the good folks here at Kernersville Auto Museum. 25th of April, mark that down, get your tickets now. There's a special presentation commemorating the 1908 Great Race. You're going to love this. It's very historic. You'll love it. Speaking of 1908, 3 of us here on the panel probably saw that race. Next to me, Yogi Overman, of course, and Don Martin. Dr. Don Martin is chairman of the Forsyth County Commissioners and just named to the State Education Commission. So congratulations on that. And Keith Granberry now back healthy and happy, and good to have you, sir. All right, guys, let's get to it. North Carolina is one of 17 states that has what's called a sore loser law on the books that prohibits a losing candidate in a party primary to then run as an unaffiliated candidate for the same office in the general election. And we'll let them do it. Are you okay with that law, or should it be done away with, Hoagie?
You know, I'm not. I think, didn't Murkowski in Alaska run as an independent after she lost the primary? So, yeah. I think you should be able to do that.
I kind of agree. Don?
I do too, because when you have a primary, a moderate candidate many times loses because the primary voters typically are on the extremes. Yeah. So moderates sometimes suffer when that moderate candidate may win a general election out. The only thing you'd have more runoffs probably.
Yeah, I have to disagree with both of them. I think that if you are going to be an independent, you need to be an independent. From the get-go. I don't think you go here, lose, and then say, okay, I'm going to, just if that's what you feel like, just go ahead and make it happen.
All right, so you're okay with the rule. All right, as of last week, North Carolina lawmakers were considering a bill that would force people with severe mental illness to undergo psychiatric treatment. Guys, would you be okay with forcing mentally ill people into treatment against their will? Hoagie.
That's kind of a tough one, Jim. I don't think you really should force people to do that. Somebody ought to co-sign it, a sibling or a parent or somebody besides the law.
Yeah.
force you to get in there.
We already have, sort of the incompetence issue where you can be committed for if you're going to be a danger to yourself or a danger to other.
But they can't prove that if you swallow the past.
So this kind of goes beyond that, and I'm probably not in favor of forcing people.
I think sometimes people don't have family members, and sometimes they can be a danger to society. And you don't know if you have a mental illness whether or not you need treatment or not. So I think there's some cases that warrant this happening.
All right, last week Virginia became the first state to ban schools from teaching falsehoods that had been spread by the White House. For example, they cannot teach that the Capitol riots of January 6th were just peaceful protests. They cannot teach that 2020 election was stolen through fraud. Guys, would you like to see North Carolina issue this same kind of ban? Okay.
I think I would, Jim. I just think that you can't just let these falsehoods go on and on and on until they become real.
Don, you're a longtime educator and superintendent. Spreading falsehoods by a teacher would seem to be wrong, wouldn't it?
Yes, but I think the other side of it is that's out in the news both ways, and I think you could watch a video of the January 6th riots and say there are those that say it's not happening, and here's what we have on tape. You have to make a judgment. Education is about making judgments and analyzing facts.
That's not making a judgment. We know that was a riot. We see that in person. That's not
the video will reflect that. I agree.
No, but you can't teach it in school to these kids who learn from their teachers. That's just wrong. And you should, by the way, start having Black history back in the schools. They took that out of the schools.
Yeah, well, Trump's gotten rid of a lot of that. United Airlines announced last week passengers who refuse to wear headphones while listening to music or watching videos will be permanently banned from the airline. You okay with that policy, and would you like to see all airlines adopt that same ban? Okay.
Yes, I would, but I don't know about permanently. I think you ought to have something on your passport or something that says you've been targeted for headphones or something. But yeah, kick them out.
Yeah, because it can become very, very loud and disturbing. Don, what do you think?
I'm okay. I agree. It shouldn't be for your life, but it seems to me when you commit to quit doing it, then you can come back.
Can you say that again? What was it?
If you don't use your headphones and you start blasting everybody, you're doing video games or listening to music, and you don't have your headphones on, United Airlines says, "Oh, that's it, buddy. You're off. You can't be on the airlines anymore."
That's crazy. That doesn't make sense. I mean, come on, really?
Do you want to sit next to me blaring something in your ear?
Ban for life?
Right,
really?
Right,
ban for life? Come on, man.
Finally, last month, a Winston-Salem entrepreneur offered free temporary tattoos in honor of Valentine's Day. It got me to thinking, guys, have you ever had a tattoo? And quickly, if so, where is it located, Ogie?
I've never had any. I don't like tattoos, but when we were kids, they sold those. You'd lick your hand and put the tattoo on there, but then you could wash it off. I'm a body paint guy. You can wash it off.
Yeah, I go over and lick Keith's hand, and I put a little thing on that. Don, what do you think? You got a tattoo?
I don't have any tattoos.
You don't have any. Keith, you have any tattoos?
No, if I had one, I would say I love me some Keith.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have. Well, except for this, researchers in Michigan, teaming up with archaeologists, have discovered that at one point in prehistoric times, humans sometimes interacted with Neanderthals. We call that Congress. All right, for all of us here on Try It Today, you like that? I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.